Hi, everyone. Welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. Thank you very, very much for being here. I do so appreciate your views, the comment, the thumbs up. They're all um, really wonderful, and I really, really do appreciate it. All right. Oh, take a moment and double check that you are still subscribed to my channel. Because every once in a while, for reasons nobody understands, subscriptions just sort of get wiped. Um, and if you don't sort of make sure that you're still subscribed, sometimes you just aren't. Also, while you're doing that, please hit the little bell, because that way, when I release a video, um, you'll get a notification. Especially these days, because I seem to be a little bit hit and miss with my video releases. Alrighty, now two more other things. One, a big thank you to Beth, who put together the Pendulum Friday questions for me last week. Really appreciate it. It's nice to see she's sort of back able to, um, trade off with Joyce when Joyce has other things going on in her world. So big appreciation to Beth. All right. And the last thing is we were talking during the Pendulum Friday video about sort of, what you can contribute, how you um can sort of do your part. And we talked about sending light and saying prayers, etc. But somebody asked me specifically for phraseology, in terms of, if you're going to make a phone call, what are you supposed to say? And there is an app called Call 5. And apparently, it literally gives you the dialogue, right? So for those of you who are wanting to make those phone calls to your reps, app 5 apparently is the place to go. The other suggestion was that don't neglect sort of the local office. Contact them. You can even make an appointment to go in and talk to them. The caveat was, however, that generally speaking, those offices are staffed by 20 somethings. So it's important to get your point across and be clear, but be a little bit gentle. They're still youngins. All right, let's get on with it. You know, I've witnessed some bad breakups in my time, but man, this one was brutal. Holy cow. Um, you have two narcissists, two ego-driven men. And I use that term loosely. Um, there were a lot of things, that it sort of like EM was kind of able to tap into part of 45's ego. But, and as a result, um, there was a lot that went on, right? A lot of things that EM got, including this Doge deal. By the way, apparently Tesla sales are across the board down something like 67%. And there's a significant portion of Tesla owners who are saying that they believe that their vehicle has been targeted or damaged on purpose simply because it's a Tesla. So there's that. And now he's sort of tucked his tail between his legs and he's tootled off back to Tesla to try to right that ship. This is the thing you have to remember about EM, is that he's not brilliant. What he is somebody who buys his way into brilliant companies and then somehow seem to, I don't know, run them to the ground, but that's beside the point. Um, so I want to take a look at what's going on with these two yahoos and what the trajectory looks like um, going forward. Are they going to kiss and make up, or are they going to continue bashing each other over the head, or are they just both, are they just going to kind of say what they have to say and then be quiet? Okay, all right. And I know that one's a little far fetched when you're dealing with the kind of egos you're dealing with, but I had to put it out there. Okay, here we go. 45 EM trajectory, 45 EM trajectory, 45 EM trajectory. Well, there's some interesting cards I think sort of some I wasn't quite expecting. So let's see what they have to say, shall we? All right, so we're starting with the Page of Cups. Okay, so this is about juvenile emotions. Okay, this is about two toddlers having a temper tantrum. This is literally the energy around these two guys because they are just simply reacting. They're not sort of thinking about what they're saying. They're not thinking about the impact it may or may not have. They're just reacting. As a result, you've got this Sun here, which is, you know, normally a super, super optimistic card. But in this case, it really does feel more like it's illuminating a situation, or it is going to bring things to light. Um, and I think that that may very well go in both directions because the bottom line is this: neither one of these people appreciate being told no. They don't appreciate being judged in any way, shape, or form. They want to be the top, the top dog. Um, but they both are coming to a point in time as we move forward where they're going to have, um, I think, some harsh realities um, brought to their attention. Now, King of Wands, followed by the Two of Wands. So this is kind of curious, right? This is about um, communication, speaking, getting your message out. And they both are looking into the future. But they're not looking into the future so much about the impact what they're doing and saying can have, as much as they're simply looking into the future and trying to figure out how they win. But there's going to continue to be a lot of this back and forth, right? I mean, the latest one was, Trump said in order to get the budget under control, she just cancel EM's government contracts. Meanwhile, um, that guy had a lot of access to a lot of information. And the bigger concern, honestly, is whether or not um, he's a security risk he was able to access all kind of information, but there was no vetting that went on. He didn't have to, go through the routine of getting a like a security clearance, right? He was just able to get information. All right, Three of Swords. Um, this really is an energy um of power, of conflict, uh, r- resolution. And the fact that you're looking at the queen, I can't help but feel that somewhere along the way, there's going to be a powerful female figure that may very well um, put her foot down. I know not what that's about. I'll see if I can find out. Okay. The next two cards are curious to me because one is the Empress and one is the Star. So, as we know, the Empress is about abundance, it's about growth, it's about new beginnings and fresh starts. The Star is literally like a dream card, it's one of the wish cards. It's like, what do you want to create? Got it. Thank you. So, what they both want to create is infinite abundance, right? That's their motivation, that's their focus. And I mean, for somebody who spent, what was it, $300 million? Um, getting 45 and sort of others elected um, wasn't so much because he absolutely agreed with what that administration would do, as much as he wanted to have access to the top guy. He wanted to have access to that Oval Room. Um, And so for him, and why? Well, because he wanted to make sure that his business contracts, etc., went through and they were approved and there was no holdups. Because $300 million is a lot of money to, us. But not so much when you're talking about the richest man in the world or one of the richest men in the world. So his motivation was literally increasing his abundance. And 45's motivation was taking whatever was offered to him or given to him because he wanted to um, accumulate and expand his own abundance. And it's interesting because that sort of that new growth, that new beginning, that very often the Empress will represent feels a little bit like sort of setting himself up for what goes on when he leaves office. There's sort of a kind of feathering his nest kind of energy to this. So we have the Hermit. It would be nice. It would be nice. Sorry, the cat has jumped on the washing machine. And every once in a while, he likes to just jump behind it. And then it's a reproduction getting him out. Okay, sorry, I digress. Apologize. All right, so the Hermit. They both need to step back and breathe and kind of focus on what's important to them, focus on how to get what they are trying to accomplish. Listen, I can tell you the next, and I want to say like 10 days, are going to be crazier than the last 10 days when it comes to these two. Um, because they have their eyes so fixed on what they want to accomplish that they kind of aren't looking at the damage that's being done right now. It's a matter of one-upmanship, right? You say something, well, I'm going to say something, worse or more derogatory or more threatening, right? Have the Four of Swords followed by the Wheel of Fortune. So what you've got here is a retreat, an illness, something just slowing down the momentum. But truly, the Wheel of Fortune card in this instant, it does not bode well. Um, it's almost as if there was such a thirst, um, such a greedy thirst for power and accumulation and abundance that in many, many ways they're making themselves sick. Um, and I think what is most astounding is the fact that um regardless, I'm going to do that for the rest of my life, I swear to God. um Regardless of what the actual value of 45 is, they're both wealthy people. Okay, one way more wealthier than the other, but they both are in a place where they have that financial security. They have um what they need basically to live a good life. But that the toxic energy around it, okay, that creates um the hostility that's going on now. In some ways, it's almost like each of them knows secrets of the other, right? And so it's dangerous ground for both of them because there are things that one could say about the other one could say about the other, and it will it for at anyways like 10 days, at least for the next 10 days, you're going to see this really accelerate. Um, this is the thing, right? Can never underestimate the greedy king, right? The wannabe king. Um, because honest to God, in some ways, this guy's like a bloody phoenix. He just has this skill set where he is able to simply rise above whatever and come out maybe damaged, but not defeated. But there's a tower moment coming. And so it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds and who it impacts. But I suspect it's going to impact both of them in different ways. But I can see where almost like their reputation is going to be damaged, I guess is the way to say it a little bit. Um, okay, so that's what I know about that. So the other day I had the opportunity, just going to get personal here for a minute. I had the opportunity to meet up with someone that truly I haven't seen in like more than 25 years. Um, and through the course of the conversation, we found, determined that he was a Trumper and I am not. Um, but what was fascinating to me was as I listened to him, was that there was nothing that anything that Trump did was either excused or considered just fake, right? Just the left-wing media like making up stories. So, it was a terrible thing that Biden pardoned his son. Couldn't be more disgusted. but didn't really have an answer for, okay, well, then what do you say about somebody who is handing out pardons for $1 million? Well, that can't be true. Well, yeah, actually, it can. Um, he's a successful businessman. Why would he put himself through this unless it was sort of like a higher calling? I just about rolled my eyes. Um, to which the reply was, "What do you mean he's a successful businessman? He's declared bankruptcy 7 times or 6 times or whatever it is." And he was like, "Well, that can't be true." And to which one replies, "It's public records, for God's sakes. Like this, you can't even blame this on the media." So it was really fascinating the way the mindset of Trumpers was so like flexible when it came to his behavior and absolutely rigid when it came to somebody else's behavior. Um, it was a fascinating conversation. I have to say, a wee little bit disappointing. Because you kind of hope that people have evolved over 25 years, but apparently not. But as I said, this was sort of my first encounter, if you will, with a real live Trumper right in front of my face. Um, and it was really interesting to just kind of watch the thought processes and how he put pieces of things, together. Um, we even talked about the bullet grazing the ear, and I was like, How could that happen? I mean, I know what a bullet hole looks like in a body. Um, his ear is fine." To which she replied, "Well, it was just a scratch." And because I wasn't going to get into a fight, I then wanted to know why his ear was wearing a diaper at the convention, but I let that be. Okay. So it was an interesting experience. Um, and I can appreciate for those of you out there who have close friends or family members who have really gone to the right, that it can be frustrating and disappointing and aggravating to try to have conversations with these people because they, over time, have become absolutely rigid in their beliefs. So that's what I know for now. Should see you back here on Wednesday. Don't forget to put your questions in the comment section below for the amazing women who take care of this. I think Joyce will be doing it this week, but I'm not sure. Um, until then, take care and be well. Bye for now.